Welcome back to 59 Minutes. My name is Levi Kones. I'm here with MAINA KAROBIA. He's a youth leader discussing matters about the week that was. MAINA.
Yes.
Last week, Secretary General of the Jubilee Party came out lambasting the Deputy President for a number of issues. Top among them, just wondering why, if he has differed so badly with his boss, he cannot, step out. What do you say to that?
You see, Levi, Tuju is the wrong person to dictate to William Ruto what he should do. William Ruto was elected by over 8 million people. It will be the greatest sign of betrayal for William Ruto to walk out of Jubilee government. Because indeed, 8 million people confirmed him as the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya in 2017. So he can't just walk out. So, and the constitution is very clear. You don't have to be in the same party with the presidential, with the president for you to serve in his government. As long as there is a binding coalition. There is a binding coalition between UDA and Jubilee Party. So I don't find when Tuju reads a riot or a protest statement to William Ruto, I don't find it watertight for him to tell us that William Ruto doesn't have any political authority to still serve within Jubilee government, because he is promoting a party that has abiding political agreement in UDA with the Jubilee.
Yeah, one of the arguments advanced there is that, when it suits you, you're okay with being in Jubilee.
Yes.
And you say, okay, big four agenda, you put, the last mile connection, you have done, X number of roads, kilometers, and when it doesn't suit you, you say the handshake came and spoiled it.
Yes. But it is true.
Is it a fair assessment only to want to associate with the good and not the failings? Because you see, serikali ni everything, both sides.
You see, Levi, William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta had their promises. They had an agenda in 2013, from 2013 to 2017. They had also a campaign agenda or even a development agenda from 2017 to 2022. William Ruto is right when he takes credit of what happened in 2013 to 2017, because that is when government used to run effectively. It had order, it had protocol in terms of running the affairs of the government. From 2017 to 2022, things changed. When you bring somebody who you defeated, democracy says that when you are defeated, you just appreciate that it was not your time. Kenyans made a decision, a democratic decision, for people to govern them for the next 5 years.
So when was unnecessary.
When handshake came, or when Raila Odinga was brought to the fold, then it means the priorities changed. They changed from the development agenda that the Jubilee administration had. It now shifted to changing the constitution and other political machinations that came by with the handshake. So I think William Ruto is right when he takes credit of the 2013-2017 government, and deassociates himself in terms of development or in terms of happenings of 2017 to 2022, because there was another person who was brought on board whose agenda up to date we have never known, because peace was none of them. Because if it was really peace, he would have just handshaked, and from the following day he doesn't associate himself with the government. But up to date we find Raila Odinga actually commissioning projects of this very government. We find Raila Odinga giving directions to CSs and PSs on what should take place. And don't be surprised, my brother Levi, that the kind of security issues that we have been having in this country, in terms of changing the security of the Deputy President, in terms of obstructing Deputy President to travel, don't be surprised that these things are taking place when there is a third person who was brought to the fold. Yet in 2013, 2017, we didn't have these shenanigans that are taking place today.
Yeah, but they say, in developed countries, somebody would say, what, I've had it. This is not what I signed up for. This was not my agenda. Let me get out of the situation, let me replan myself, and now come back for the top seat. So in some places, they would call that principle. What would you call it?
For me, I would call it resolve and focus, leadership.
Yeah, and by the way, it's happening in Kenya. You will remember as a scholar of history that, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga famously resigned from the Kenyatta government.
What happened after that?
And said it was untenable for him to continue working with the president at that moment in time.
What happened after that? He was restricted to house arrest. Let me tell you, you cannot walk out from the government that you painfully built from the scratch. William Ruto, it will be, I'm telling you, it will be the greatest sign of betrayal if William Ruto walks out of this government. Because 8 million people voted him. Over 8 million people are looking up to him for political direction when we are having a stalemate in terms of the affairs of this nation. So I would say this. Jaramogi Oginga Odinga walked out of government in 1966. When he walked out of government, he had a rogue boss who would restrict him to home arrest, who would not even remember that it is the same Jaramogi who sacrificed his presidential ambitions to order or to declare that there is no peace without the release of Kenyatta.
True.
What prevents Uhuru Kenyatta to do the same if William Ruto walks out of this government? Because let me tell you, we are having, African leaders are dictators. They will always do whatever is in their desires or is in their best interest, especially when their political interest and business interest is at stake. So I must say this, or we must insist on this. William Ruto, however the kitchen gets hot, let him remain there. Aendelee kukoroga hiyo supu akiwa huko ndani, hata kama kitchen iko moto namna gani, so that we can have right leadership. I believe that if William Ruto is to push this nation or is to serve this nation as he wishes, in terms of equitable, fair distribution of resources and representation of people, he can best achieve this when he is within, not when he is without or when he is outside.
Yeah,
exactly.
Good point. Let me ask about the politics of tribalism, because as a youth leader,
yes,
there is a perception that now, or the perception you're trying to sell, yes, if I may put it that way, is that that
I'm not saying it's the fact
that tribalism is being dealt a blow,
yes,
by the stand of UDA,
yes,
as a person who is a young person,
yes,
within that party.
Yes.
Do you really feel like tribalism is actually not going to be a factor in 2022?
Let me tell you, Levi, the greatest loser when we have prejudices, when we have subjective factors to look when we are making political direction, is the youth. And that's why you find so many youths are identifying with the UDA, because UDA has been very clear, categorical, that ours is the business of economic issues. And they are promoting the bottom-up economic model.
So no tribal, you really believe the youth are out of that story?
They are out of that story. Let me tell you, Levi, for the first time you are dealing with a generation that is not interested with the history. The youth of this nation today, they are interested in the present and in the future.
They may not be interested with history much, but I don't think they are very far removed from tribe. I mean, Maina, let me just give you case and point.
Yes.
You're a young person. Do you walk around these universities and colleges?
I do.
Have you seen how many caucuses there are, tribal caucuses, involving youth in those colleges?
Yes.
Have you seen how the elections for young people are in universities and colleges?
I have
and how highly tribal they are?
I have an experience in that.
Yeah?
I have an experience in that.
If these are young people who are in their 20s,
yes,
who can sit down and decide they are going to elect so-and-so because it's from their community, within their own forum,
yes,
in their own setting, in their own young people, campus colleges and other tertiary institutions.
yes.
What stops them from replicating it at the national stage?
Let me tell you this, Levi. William Ruto has convinced us, he has persuaded us that we can do politics without considering our social.
Yet that has not stopped
background.
back in the campuses. Has it stopped?
Progressively it is stopping. Progressively it is stopping. And this is how it is stopping. When you find the people that are closest to the DP come from different social and ethnic background, it sells a good picture to the people that indeed we can have a convergence of ideas irrespective of where we come from. Let me tell you, Levi, 2022, our generation is looking at it as a moment of reckoning, a moment where we are going to change the paradigm of our politics, that we are going to factor in the issues of skills, the issues of integrity, transparency, the issues of technical know-how, how you identify the challenges of the people, not the ethnic background that a person comes from. And that's why I'm telling you, Levi, we have a nexus between the skills that we have and the political platform that UDA is providing. Today, I had a meeting with the Deputy President on the weekend. And let me tell you, as much as it was a Mount Kenya meeting, youth meeting, there were people from other ethnic backgrounds who attended to that meeting. And they actually even addressed the meeting. And His Excellency William Ruto was very happy that we had scheduled a meeting for Mount Kenya, but we are bringing people even from other ethnic background to come and address the gathering so that they can address their issues. Today, let me tell you, you have been finding William Ruto insisting that he is not in the business of power sharing. Let me tell you, even me, when I'm talking to him, my agenda is very categorical. It is economics, 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 enriching the debate of bottom-up economic model.
Okay, let's get into that debate.
Yes.
What does it mean for you as a young person, really? How would you explain it to the guy who's listening at Mashinani right now?
You see, Levi, bottom-up economic model is a counterweight to the traditional trickle-down economic model. Bottom-up economic model is taking resources, investing, putting priorities right at the bottom of the people, putting priorities and government investments at the people at the bottom of economic pyramid of our country, investing on the ground, investing in the grassroots. And the bottom-up economic model seeks to build structures right from the ground, from the governance perspective and from the economic perspective. People on the ground are organized in circles, in cooperatives, in chamas, and the bottom-up economic model endeavors and seeks to invest in these regularized, legitimate, and organized structures so that we can build a large tax base, a large portfolio, economic portfolio that is going to cascade even to the top level. Are you getting? It is a shift from the traditional mentality that we build the big corporations, we give them in tax incentives, we give them the requisite skills, and we believe that the profits that they are going to build at the top is going to flow down to the people at the bottom. So the bottom-up economic model, it is going to shift from that traditional mentality that we can only build our country by building the top guys or the big corporations. 2022 elections, through the Hustler Nation and the UDA party, we are going to shift that model to bottom-up economic model where we put priorities right at the grassroots structures and cooperatives so that we can have a large pool that is going to build resources, build profits, and these profits are going to even roll out or even help in terms of funding and providing capital to the development agenda that our government has.
Yeah, but one would wonder where will the money come from, especially now that we are so indebted?
You see, the government of 2017 to 2022 is going to leave empty coffers.
Yeah. So where is this funding being ingested?
We are going to have a large sovereign debt. So, and that's why we are providing an alternative economic thought through the bottom-up economic model. The bottom-up economic model, when we invest in the structures at the grassroots, when we invest at the organized cooperatives on the ground, then it means we are going to enlarge the tax base. When we provide an enabling environment to improve on the value chains, improve on or increase productivity, then it means there will be people there will be a large pool of people involved in commercial activities. And when we have a large pool of people involved in commercial activities, then it means we are going to enlarge the tax base. So it means our developmental agenda is going to be financed locally. We will not be having to depend on the foreign debt or the foreign aid. So the finances or the funds to fund the developmental agenda that William Ruto has, it is going to be catered for by the tax base that we are going to enlarge through the bottom-up economic model and put in priorities at the grassroots.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you talk about enabling environment, one wonders because, the 2013 to 2017
Yes.
was when the Jubilee government first came in.
Yes.
And one of the things it saw was a great rise in different kinds of taxes and levies that were put on first-time businesses.
Yes.
And a lot of young people have complained. I mean, if you look even at the region,
Yes.
they say Rwanda is the best place to go and start a business.
Yes.
Kenya are doing so badly even in Africa in terms of the enabling environment.
Yes. Yes.
Then when you guys sit down as young people, are these things you point out in terms of what changes need to be? Because today, if you tell a young person, even if you're going to increase his tax base, as you say,
yes.
if you tell him to even start a kinyozi,
yes.
how many licenses does he have to pay?
Many.
For the kinyozi to get up and running?
Many.
Yes.
And
he still has to look over his shoulder at the end of the day because if he does not do his VATs by the 20th, he's also in problem.
Yes.
Yes. And nothing is changing. Look at the cost of fuel. Today we are told it's possible. Tomorrow it might go up by 8 shillings or so. Yes. If the government does not subsidize that, we are in problems again because of the high cost of commodities, climbing up. Are these discussions, when you're having them as young people, are you bringing them to the table, or is it just a feel-good thing to say, bottom up?
Let me tell you, these are
because the slogan is nice,
yes.
but the mechanics need to be,
Let me tell you, on Saturday,
really looked at.
They have been looked
hard.
at. Hard. You see, the reason as to why we are having those bottlenecks and bureaucracies that for a young person before they start a business, they have to pass so many levies and requirements from government, is because the operating model as of now by the state is a trickle-down economic model. But when we have a bottom-up economic model that prioritizes and is sensitive to the economic interests of the people at the lowest level of economic pyramid, then it means they are going to make legislations and policies that are going to be enabling, that are going to be proactive enough to assist people to be creative to start businesses and to secure their initiatives in terms of commercial initiatives. So the reason as to why we have been having these bottlenecks and bureaucracies is because the operating economic model has the trickle-down thought. And that tells you that big priorities of the states are only given to the corporations, the big corporations. So when we have a trickle-down mentality, then it means the small enterprises are not given priorities in terms of a conducive environment and in terms of even providing seed capitals to grow. But when we have a bottom-up economic model or a shift to a model that prioritizes small enterprises, then it means even the state policies or the state priorities are going to create an enabling environment and policies that are going to help these small enterprises to grow. And let me tell you, it is not a feel-good or a talk show stuff. On the weekend, we had a meeting, and I know you saw it on the news. Mm-hmm. William Ruto, the people who are addressing that gathering are actually people from kinyozis and salones, people from markets, student leaders, people from the mitumba industry. They were the ones who are making their contribution to the whole gathering. In fact, the people who are political elites, the youth elites, were actually 3. The others, they were people who are in this industry of SMEs. So that tells you our business or our priorities in terms of bottom-up economic model is as serious and is deliberate as our proclamation.
I hear you. Well, we're running out of time.
Yes.
But I have to ask you before you leave today.
Yes.
In the political, how do I put it? In the political crystal ball, yes, if you will, if we were to cast aspersions into, yes, the future.
Yes.
And knowing that we are only, soon to be 10 months running into the election, it's surprising. It's moving so fast.
Yes.
What do you see happening in terms of political realignments?
From a political angle, we expect surprises. From the Court of Appeal ruling, we have found some people have taken a back seat a reverse gear in terms of political alignments.
Yeah.
We have found the OCA alliances. Some go in different directions, some offering contradictory statements. So going forward, from a political angle, I'm finding serious political alignments. And you know, let me tell you, Levi, the justification that they are going to give is that in politics, there's no permanent enemy or permanent friend. Mm. So you'll find there's this arrangement, the coalition building, people will try to have their interests catered for, or try to find their interest, whether they are being catered for by the leading presidential candidates. In this case, William Ruto and Raila Odinga. So if their interests are not going to be catered for in those formations, you'll find them shifting goalposts or shifting their allegiances. And let me tell you, serious coalitions and alliances are built 3 months to the elections. These back and forth consultations that you have been hearing for the last 6 months is not watertight for me. For me, it is just making loud voices so that you can be quoted by the leading presidential aspirants, so that you can be on their wing. Serious political direction and alliances are going to be built in February or March next year. So be ready for different alliances, be ready for the people you would consider enemies talking to each other, be ready to find teammates that would otherwise...
That you are shouting at today.
That you are shouting at today.
That should be a word to the social media ninjas.
Yes.
Very, very interesting. MAINA KAROBIA, thank you so much.
I appreciate
for coming by. We'll call you again.
Yes.
We'll bring a cleric, and also we'll bring somebody else from, either OCA or one of the other formations, so that...
Please don't bring somebody from OCA.
Because we can have a good chat.
Let me tell you, Levi.
Because
let me tell you, Levi.
How can you say don't bring someone from OCA?
Because those people are jokers, Bana. Let me tell you, Levi.
Yeah.
The only serious presidential candidate we have in 2022 is Raila Odinga and William Ruto. If you look at Raila Odinga, the way he has been performing...
So ni farasi ni wawili?
Farasi ni wawili. Let me tell you, in a democratic election, it is not a 3-horse race. It is only a 2-horse race. The last 3 elections that we have held in this country, Raila Odinga has clocked at 40%. Right? That tells you that that is a formidable candidate. These other guys, even the polls that has been done in Twitter, even other media houses have conducted
but you know,
polls.
they say in this country, social media is not what votes.
They are clocking at below 10%.
Peter Kenneth was doing well on social media, and the ground is quite different.
How did he perform in 2017?
That's why I'm telling you, on social media, you can't count that.
In social media, he was not performing well. 2017.
You can't count that.
In 2017, Peter Kenneth was actually not performing well.
He was even called the social media candidate.
The only time he was performing well was 2013, and that was a feel-good. He was just a feel-good candidate. So let me tell you, the polls that have been conducted, even by credible sources, even within government, I don't want to mention the names, they are showing that William Ruto is clocking...
With the bureaus and everything.
And with the bureaus and services. William Ruto is clocking at above 58%. These OCA guys, they are clocking at below 10%.
The thing about the polls, though, is this, and you need to know this, because I know you'll come on this show and tell me another time.
Yes.
It depends on who's paying the pollster, because there are polls, you guys only like the polls when every politician like the polls.
Are you saying
when the polls are showing that they are okay.
Are you saying
if tomorrow we come up with a poll here
yes.
that is showing that your team is not doing very well, you'll be the first to tell me here that polls are rubbish.
Are you saying
the first guy
are you saying William Ruto? Are you saying William Ruto is buying all these people even on Twitter to vote for him?
No, I'm saying let's not buy too much into the polls, because those are the same polls that you rubbish. I'm just saying politicians take polls at face value only when they suit them.
In political research, there is something that is called in political research. There is something that is called explaining and predicting. So whatever people are doing right now are explaining, and we can only be able to predict through the explanation that people are giving in these polls. Yeah.
So you don't expect any issues to change anything, because
in terms of electoral results of next year. In terms of let me tell you, Levi, the kind of polls that we are getting right now is that William Ruto is the frontline candidate.
He's the man to beat.
He's the man to beat. I'm telling you, It is going to be as that, even on 10th August 2022, as the results will be streaming live.
All right. Confident and quite brutal, if I could put it that way. MAINA KAROBIA, always a pleasure.
It's a
Good to see
pleasure.
you, bro.
Pleasure is mine.
Have a wonderful week.
Have a wonderful week.
You have a wonderful week. We'll see you tomorrow, God willing. This is 59 Minutes.